I've tried to fight for the little guy, for the person who may have run across a tough stretch, but believes there can be justice.
My name is Barry Norwood, and I'm a minister, a pastor of a local church in the Phoenix area.
The Baptist Foundation of Arizona was the largest nonprofit bankruptcy in American history.
A lot of the folks in my congregation lost a lot of money, and they were older folks, retired people. They had all of their money invested in this fund, and they were living off the interest.
Instead of getting an IRA at the local bank, they'd go down and get it at the BFA. And it turns out that BFA had begun to lie about how well they were doing, and when the truth came out, several $100 million of investments evaporated. It was heartbreaking because you had 13,000 retired Baptists lose everything. I'll never forget standing up, preparing to give my opening argument, and looking around and seeing the courtroom filled with people I'd come to know over the several years I've been litigating that case. People who were counting on me to get justice for them.
I believe that he argued as much for them as to win the case. He cared about them.
And the $217 million recovery I got in that case during the trial is one of the proudest achievements of my life as a lawyer.
We thank God that Sean was on this case, literally.
I'll never forget it.
I think Sean believes in fighting the good fight, because those are the only kind worth fighting.
I was born in the Bronx. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. My dad came here from County Kerry in Ireland. My mom came from County Cork in Ireland. My dad was a union carpenter in the Carpenters Union for 50 years. When he came here, he came with a 4th grade education, but he had a couple of things going for him. He was willing to work hard, and he, like my mom, had a belief that if you work hard in America, you could go a long way.
Sean Coffey is smart, hardworking, dedicated. I'm his mother.
When I was young, my father went to work on the Niagara Falls Power Project, and so the family moved up to Buffalo. So I lived in Niagara Falls. I remember distinctly coming home from school some days and seeing my dad's car in the driveway, and I knew what that meant. It meant Dad had been laid off, and that times would be tough for weeks or even months. But we managed to get through. My parents have had a real belief that things are going to be better.
Being we were from Ireland, we loved America and the opportunities that were there for us. And Sean grew up with that, how we always loved our country, America. And I think it was embedded in him that he would give back.
I was sworn into the Naval Academy at age 17. It was the proudest day of my life up until I had kids.
I first met Sean Coffey on July 8th, 1974. That was induction day at the Naval Academy for our plebe summer.
I knew it was going to be tough, and it was. About a third of my classmates didn't make it to graduation. I learned about leadership, I learned about sacrifice, I learned about working for the common good.
He rose to the ranks to command a squadron of over 300 people. He rose to the rank of captain and commanded a unit aboard the USS Enterprise.
I served in the Navy 20 years, sometime in the reserve, and loved every minute of it. He cried. He would kill me for saying it when he retired.
After I left active duty, I was proud to serve as an assistant United States attorney here in the Southern District of New York.
Sean was there at a time where there were cases galore to do, and he went in and he worked hard on them. He tried as many cases as he could, and he thrived on it, you can tell.
It was a wonderful thing to do as a lawyer, to know that your job every day was to do justice. There was no better feeling than looking in the eyes of a victim, knowing that you had put the person who had hurt them in jail.
A lot of the cases that we did in narcotics involved cases that didn't make headlines. They weren't of interest to the politicians. They were just cases that were cleaning up neighborhoods in New York City.
If I believed someone was guilty, I didn't care that I might not persuade all 12 jurors of that. If I believed it, if I thought the evidence would prove it, I would try that case.
Prosecutors are there for the people that you never see. They're not the witnesses, they're not the defendants, they're not the people that you're bringing the cases against. They're for the people who are hurt.
When you walk into the courtroom, you're speaking for them. After the U.S. Attorney's Office, I represented tens of thousands of investors who had put billions of dollars into WorldCom. WorldCom was an enormous telecommunications company that would say to investors, we're really doing well, we're making a lot of money. But it turns out that their profits were fictitious, that they were lying. The banks that sold the WorldCom bonds called themselves the syndicate. Well, I treated them like a syndicate, an organized crime syndicate. We took on WorldCom and the banks and the audit firm and the directors and the officers, and a lot of people didn't think we had any shot at winning, but I did. And for the first time in history, we made all of the key individuals at the top of the company reach into their own pockets and help pay the investors back. I don't get Christmas cards from Wall Street or from audit firms, but I do get them from investors. I get letters, I get calls, people saying, thanks very much for what you did for us, and I'm pretty proud of that. The Attorney General is the people's lawyer. That's the attorney who's supposed to fight for the little guy, to make sure that people are playing by the rules.
You are dealing with the people of New York State. You are finding out what they need. You are finding out what is not giving them voice.
I want to fight for people like my mom and dad. I want to fight for people who are being taken advantage of by more powerful interests. I want to fight to make our water cleaner. I want to fight to clean up Albany.
People in New York State are in great need. They are suffering from economic woes. They're suffering from fraud. They're suffering from companies taking money from them. Sean cares about that. He really cares about those people.
When you're in the Navy, you're fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. When you're a prosecutor, you're fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. And when I'm Attorney General of New York, I'm going to fight for New Yorkers who can't fight for themselves.